lift if I can. Good.
Is that thunder?
That was thunder.
Is it raining outside? Do you have an umbrella?
It could be raining. I do have an umbrella.
Which you'll probably need. I'm scared.
I don't believe in umbrellas.
Just park that aside for a second.
I don't believe in umbrellas.
What do you mean you don't believe in umbrellas?
I don't believe that you need them.
But you've used an umbrella in your life?
Yeah, I believe they exist. I don't believe in the use of them in life.
You've not walked down the street with it raining and you've put an umbrella up and gone, oh, wow, now I'm dry.
Firstly, it maybe happens to me once a year where I'm walking/standing in the rain for such a prolonged period of time that I'm like, oh my God, I'm really wet. I should have brought out an umbrella. But like that happens once. Am I to bring an umbrella out constantly that might happen?
If you check the weather,
that's insane.
Yeah. I mean, I normally...
how often do you get stuck walking or waiting in the rain in London?
Part of my commute is a significant walk from the tube to my office.
How long?
15 minutes.
You don't need an umbrella.
I do. Where's the cover?
Where you're going to work? You don't need. If you're a bit damp, what happens?
No. Have you been in a rainstorm? It's not a bit damp.
I was in one the other day.
You're soaked.
I love it.
No,
I love it.
It's
I never feel more alive when I'm in the rain.
Oh, right, Drew Barrymore. Jesus Christ. I mean, if you get there and you're soaked, I mean, that's a horrible start to the day, and it's the horrible driving London miserable
That never
rain.
happens though. You never really get stuck in the rain, and the rain isn't so prolonged.
It is.
You're like, I'm outside. I'm outside, baby. I'm out there and I'm loving it.
Do you believe in umbrellas?
No.
A mini umbrella.
Everyone's like, we should bring an umbrella. I'm like, I guess, whatever.
Well, also, because if you bring an umbrella, you never need it. That's the thing.
Never need it.
But you do. Umbrellas have their purpose.
Because women have more likely to have a handbag, which like you can get those small ones, which I think is fine. But as a man, I'm just hold even the small ones in my pocket.
That? Did you hear that outside?
It's raining, and you have a literally 90-second walk to the station.
Yeah, that's fine here. But there are other times when you have a longer walk and you get soaked. You get soaked. You do.
I just think like,
and you arrive
at
your destination.
How many times does that happen in a year?
I could say, well, I take an umbrella with me, so it doesn't happen. But like if I didn't take an umbrella, I'd say 10 times.
And most of the time, the rain is not heavy enough that I would be wet to the point where it would make me unhappy. It's like it drizzles, and I'm like, oh, I'm a bit wet.
What happened when we went to the Crown premiere?
Yeah, no, I love that. It was a memory, and we turned up wet. We were alive. We were laughing, running all the way.
It was so
happy.
Oh, you're so...
And then we were like in our suits, but we were wet, and it was like, oh my God,
we're
here.
Really
yeah, it's really
That's
going.
umbrella weather.
That is an umbrella-worthy storm. But you're not going anywhere where you need it. You're going to go on the tube in 90 seconds once you leave my flat.
Okay, when I get to my end destination, it's a 5-minute walk from my tube to my flat.
You don't need an umbrella. And then you're going to the safety of your home where you're going to take your clothes off anyway, have a shower and go to bed.
It's still unpleasant. You're mitigating the unpleasantness of the... Who wants to arrive
Rain
at their
is
home?
unpleasant.
Yeah, it
Oh,
is.
grow up.
What do you mean it's not unpleasant?
It's not that unpleasant.
If I had a Gatling gun of water,
if
if I got 100 school children just to shoot you with a water pistol on your way to your flat, you'd say, oh,
that's ridiculous.
That's
I'd be
what
really
rain is
upset
like.
if that happened.
Right?
No.
Of course it's unpleasant.
If you were
it's cold,
a keynote
it's damp.
speaker at a conference about personal appearance and
won't
hairstyles, I'd be like, okay, that 5-minute walk in heavy rain is a problem for you. You need an umbrella. But you are going home to the safety of your entire wardrobe.
You feel damp. It makes you feel. It's the way it makes you feel.
That's heavy rain right there.
Why would you not want an umbrella for this weather? Why would you not take an umbrella for this?
I don't need to go anywhere.
You're telling me you hear this right now, and you're
this is for this conversation. It just happens to be raining. You've made a call.
Actual dust on the microphone.
It's not like it's been. Yeah. 10 days for anyone listening.
10 days, we actually have dust on the microphone. I think it might be longer.
As always, unbeknownst to our audience.
Uninterrupted service.
Uninterrupted. George, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for being here today. You are
my pleasure.
Relatively fresh. Well, not fresh, but you're fresh off of a 8-9 hour flight?
A 9-hour flight from Orlando to London.
Thank you very much for being here.
It's okay. And the thing is about an overnight flight is you don't really sleep. No. You don't even sleep properly. I got a few more hours than I expected.
I think you take your hours of sleep on a plane, and you're lucky if you get a third of what you got.
Yeah.
So if you got 3 hours, you're lucky to felt like you got 1.
Yeah.
That's usually how it is. If you sleep for 8 hours on a flight, you're really getting 3.
So we had no other choice but to record today, which is fine.
I'm away tomorrow for the rest of the week.
It just had to happen, and we are committed to delivering a service for you guys.
We're coming at you.
So I'm underslept. Don't know what time of day it is, but I'm here.
And then I've got some films to talk about today.
It's been a busy time.
We're going to talk about The Creator.
Yes.
Hitman, which is Richard Linklater's new film.
Yep.
Then Priscilla, which is the upcoming Sofia Coppola film. And then later in bonus, we're going to talk about Dumb Money, which has already come out. And I know what you're thinking. That's quite a lot of James. I actually prefer the blonde guy. Well, fear not. Next week, George will be back with a vengeance.
Yes.
So stay tuned for that. Speaking of being very underslept.
Yes.
Yesterday, I was really underslept. I had a shoot out of London, 7 a.m. call time, which meant a 4 a.m. wake up with like a nearly 2-hour drive. And went to Fleet Services, very good services for people who know their services. And it's like, even the services aren't open yet. They're like just about open. So we get there at like 5 to 6. And there's like, the external Starbucks to the internal Starbucks. We went to the external one, which is a bit more 24-hour. And it opens at 6. And it's like 6:02. And I feel sorry for the people working in there. There's like 4 members of staff, they're zombies, just do the thing, unlock the thing. And we're like, 6:02, open at 6. So we knock on the door, and one of them's like, they're rubbing their eyes. And they're like, oh, that's the thing.
Got to open the door.
And this woman who looked so pissed off to be working there. And we were trying to be nice, but she comes up, makes direct eye contact, unlocks the door, and just turns around and walks away, like doesn't open the door.
Savage.
Just like, and I just walked in, I was like, I'm sorry, please can I have a grande iced cold brew? But yeah,
that's a nice little interaction. I had a very, I think, American interaction where we had to get some shopping, just like food shop.
Yeah.
And I always
That's what
feel
they call it.
Yeah, but I don't, I'm not going, it wasn't like doing clothes shopping or anything, but like doing a food shop. And I've noticed that like, in my own personal experience, I don't want to speak for a whole nation, but they're like a lot of Americans, at least where I were, will just sort of tune in and out of what you're saying, like nearby, as if you, like they'll eavesdrop,
right?
And they'll just sort of either come into your conversation or react to it, like quite openly, like it's an open forum. So we were talking about the fact that in this food shop, like there was like products from like Australia and across the world, and just like it's really mad that things have come so far. And we were talking about how things are like grown in one continent, cleaned in another, packaged in another, and then ultimately arrive at this place in Florida. And there's a guy I want to easily, a few meters away, and he's like, doing his shop, and I can see him like shaking his head in a chucklesome way, in a pleasant way, good. And then he like walks past us and just up and over and goes, makes you scratch your head, doesn't it? It's a head scratcher. And then just like carries on with his car. That's it. That was the limit of interaction. As if like it was a YouTube video and he'd like made a little comment. It's a head scratcher, isn't it?
A Brit would never.
No.
Not really.
How dare you? So as you do when you go on transatlantic flights, and long haul flights, was watching some films.
Yes.
First of all, I did what you did, do a little survey of what people are watching. So obviously on the flight to Orlando, a predominant, maybe 70% of people are going to Disney.
Oh, okay.
Go on.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can let me guess. Was there like a clear...
Oh, no, I'll let you guess. I'll just say, there was, you just got to remember the audience. You got a lot of people going out to Disney or Universal, the theme parks. Okay, well, James, what do you think? Great selection of films on
as always.
My airline provider. Bear with me. What do you think was across a lot of screens?
Well, you did just say a Disney thing, but outside of that, I would guess Barbie is showing on planes now. Not yet. Not Barbie and Oppenheimer. So Disney. What's been out?
Well,
Little Mermaid.
Yes, I would say I saw 1 or 2 screens for that.
Yeah.
There's one thing that's owned by Disney that are not thinking of. One of the biggest films to come out in the last 12 months.
Black Panther?
You didn't like it.
Avatar?
Yes. So a lot of avatars on plane screens, which I thought was a bit of an insult to even though if you didn't like it, but I thought, really?
Realistically, that's where it's going to be consumed.
But if you've got a 9-hour flight to kill...
Great. 3 hours, 15 minutes.
That flight is 2.5 way of the waters, the way of water.
It's also...
Still can't get that right.
The Way of Water.
So stupid.
It's also the kind of film that I imagine in a not too like distant future, when we're all like locked onto headsets, just
Yeah.
trying to experience like under the sea. I think Avatar is like on the way to being that kind of just like, ooh,
Yeah.
content, distract you from where you
Yeah,
are,
yeah, yeah.
be with, ooh, the way of water, which is just holding your breath a bit longer than you thought you could.
What do you think was the second most watched film I saw on people's screens?
Are we still talking the Disneyverse?
No. Recent film.
Not-
Big film.
Not Barbie yet, because that would be big.
Even Anna watched it.
Have I seen it?
Yes.
Did
You
I
also
like it?
watched it on a plane.
Oh, I seen it and I watched it on a plane.
And I believe your review went, yeah, this is great. Like, don't get me wrong, amazing, wonderful. But what is this doing in this film?
Oh, I don't remember that review. So go on.
It's Elvis.
Oh,
So you
yeah,
were like
yeah.
Austin Butler, amazing. Don't get me wrong. Tom Hanks, what are you doing here? For the rest of the week, Aaron and I would kept going, my boy, my boy. You know, he does that the whole thing. My boy.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
So that was the little view. But anyway, what I watched, just thought I'd give you a little feedback.
Yes, please.
We are a film podcast.
Sorry, is this your own provided film or on the screen? That
On
they
the screen.
provide?
I'm not like you, but they had enough to fill my time.
Yeah.
You know, Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, yeah.
Hugely enjoyed that.
Isn't it great?
Massively.
Isn't
I
it
thought
really
was
fun?
Really great fun. Really surprised me.
Jonathan!
Yeah. All of that stuff.
cracked me up.
It's really hard for me to tell the story without Jonathan here. I actually really loved it.
It's
I
really
thought
funny.
Really, the whole Guardians of the Galaxy comparison, I think, is
Yeah.
really apt. Chris Pine, all of them are just. There's not really a weak link. All of them comically and comedically do their thing.
You're so ready to dislike it just from the way it looks and I guess
Yeah.
the IP and the look of it, but
I never felt excluded as a person who'd never engaged with Dungeons and Dragons. in
Hugh
their
Grant
time.
having loads of fun, just
so good. I didn't think
the
you'd actually
Paddington
dink your finger in the tea, but the tea is scalding hot, so thank
a
you.
good little heist thing and the rules with the portal and all of that just worked.
I was chuckling along, and I actually look forward to watching it with some like wider family at like Christmas.
Great plane movie selection, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Like you've heard, it's a thumbs up.
Yeah.
You could not care if
Yeah.
the captain made an announcement in a pivotal scene.
Yeah.
And then it's like, it's just good. It's
a bit,
low effort, low energy.
It's like it's a bit longer than it needs to be. It's about 2 hours
Sure.
15, but that on a plane, that's fine. I really enjoyed it,
Yeah.
and like it's probably like one of the biggest surprises of the year, isn't it?
Oh,
It's like,
for
this
sure.
is actually a solid, great
sure.
bit of fun. That, and then because recently there was a thing called like Batman Day, I was like, and it had been in my head.
Inadvertent comments.
No, but I was no, this is good. So I was like, you know what? I haven't watched The Dark Knight in probably like over 10 years, right? I watched it at the cinema when it came out. I probably watched it 2 years later, and then I never watched it again.
Wow, okay.
Not because I didn't like it, but I think because I liked it. But people, what The Dark Knight has given rise to its own, following, and it's you mention it, and people, oh my god, The Dark Knight
Has its own gravitational field in
exactly.
pop
That
culture.
kind of put me off it a little bit,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to say anything new about The Dark Knight. That's already been said, and I'm aware that like it has like some, there's a little bit of toxicity with the fans, like the admiration, probably love of it. But I thought now I'm 10, 15 years after the release, and after the last time I saw it, I thought I'd watch it. And it was quite good. It really was. I do. That was the one I thought probably should have watched this on a bigger screen.
Yeah.
And actually, the longer it went on, the more I enjoyed it. I still don't think I like came away thinking, oh, that's my favorite Nolan film or whatever. I think it's a solid effort. I think it's the most interesting
It's a
attempt
crime
at that
drama
material.
that happens to be a Batman film.
Yeah, and I think that the stuff towards the end that becomes more about like the moral dilemmas and the whole positioning of like Harvey Dent and Joker, like I was like, oh, I'm into this. A great ending. I've always really liked that ending. Just about
an ending
turning
that-
Harvey Dent's face over and goes, no.
Yeah.
He's the hero Gotham
And
needs.
the swell of the music and that IMAX camera behind the bike,
Yeah.
the cape whipping off into the wind,
Yeah.
and the speech, and you're just like, what a film!
Yeah,
What a
I was I mean, like, shocker. The Dark Knight's quite a good film.
You
But-
tune into a film podcast, guys. Dark Knight, man.
but and also like, it's quite a film bro-y film, isn't it? But I have to say, I was like, this is actually pretty solid. The stuff in the beginning with like Shanghai and stuff is like fine. I'm like okay with that. But the more the terrorism of the Joker ramps up, the more interesting I think it becomes. And Heath Ledger's still great. That's good.
That great scene when Heath Ledger's hanging upside down,
Yeah.
laughing his
And
head
then they
off,
turn the camera
and he's
to-
like, he can't kill him, and he's like,
Yeah.
you and I
Yeah.
are meant to do this forever.
I don't want to kill you.
You're so much fun.
Yeah. What would I do without you? You complete me.
And he's like, let her go. Yeah. Poor choice of words.
Yeah.
He's still funny as a joker.
He's brilliant. He's brilliant. And then
Another hot take, Heath Ledger's Joker.
hot take, Dark Knight and Heath Ledger, very good. And then on the flight back yesterday, I watched
the size of a tangerine.
He had a ruby, the size of a tangerine.
And he threw it away
for sport.
for sport.
Something. Just want to watch the world burn. Anyway.
Oh, that's all right. I'm almost done. I like him Batman Begins.
I wanted the Dark Knight to be short because it would put people off.
I like him Batman Begins. He's like, all those bloody press-ups and you can't even lift a bloody log.
Yeah. And then on the way back yesterday, I watched, I would say, 40 minutes of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Oh, is that
because when I was in Florida, I caught Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Oh, great.
Which was a very pleasant surprise.
I think my favourite.
Really? I think I've always thought of it as the weakest of the three, originally.
I think it's my favourite.
It's pretty, I mean, all the camp stuff is there. Like, it's great fun. I think Kalima, it's great. Some of the CGI effects.
Yeah. And all the people in the hands, he's like, oh. I think it's nightmarish.
Kiki Kwan, great.
I've never forgotten it.
Kiki Kwan, like, great fun. Don't get me wrong, I loved it. And then I thought, on the plane back, I was like, I'm not planning to watch a whole film. And I kind of know what happens in this, because I've read around it. And I know your review is kind of lukewarm, so I thought, I put on Indiana Jones. And it's probably not advised to watch an old Indiana Jones movie and a new one back to back.
God, yeah.
Because even when they do the digitally de-aged stuff at the beginning, you can tell he's old.
Yeah.
So the laboured breathing. Well, you've got an artifact in your... And like,
I almost wonder if the de-aging sequence went on for too long. Like, have it be there a little bit, but it's a 15, 20-minute sequence?
It's the whole opening. I just felt really quite depressed watching it in a way that I thought, this is just such a bad idea to have made this film. I love Harrison Ford, and he's given it a good go. And I think everyone made that film with love and intention, but I'm watching it and I'm thinking, is this where we've got to, where you have a franchise, that Temple of Doom, which was, like I said, great fun, 40 years ago that was made. Yeah. And now, instead of being like, let's bring out something new, let's resurrect, let's Paul Harrison Ford, getting him out in his 80s.
Have him in for a scene. Let him pass on the baton.
Absolutely.
Like, have him there. Acknowledge him. But don't... Like, do you remember the comment I made about he always seemed to be being carried by either a horse or a cart? I don't know if you saw that within 40 minutes. Yeah. But it really did feel like we can't let him move too much because it will give the fact that he's really old.
Also, when it began and it was like, he's living this kind of joyless existence, bored and stuff, I was like, is this how you're reintroducing the character of Indiana Jones to a new generation?
Like Up, the guy from Up.
Yeah, literally. And then I really just didn't feel good watching. I just thought this was not a good idea, guys. Yeah. You shouldn't have made it.
You should see the ending, which I don't know if you know much about.
I think I know what happens in terms of stuff that goes
I haven't watched something in such a long time. I've just been like, nope, I hate it.
Yeah. I watched the Honest trailer for it, which is, they had this sting at the end, which really made me laugh, which is like, there's a clip in the new one where he's like, magic. I don't believe in magic. And they're like, you opened the Ark of the Covenant, were possessed by Kali Ma, drank from the Holy Grail, and saw aliens. You believe in magic, okay? Anyway, that was my movie.
For someone who
experience.
drank from the Holy Grail, they're actually not. They don't seemingly have the vitality of life.
Someone who watched people's faces melt when they opened the Ark of the Covenant. Somebody who was possessed and saw someone's heart taken out of their body.
Surely a sip from the Holy Grail should at least, like Aragorn, like give you another 100 years.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it should just give you a little. a
microdose the Holy Grail. It might make you live for eternity if you get another 100 years. Anyway, that was my contribution to the show today.
Also, in this episode, we are going to be talking later about our plans for episode 100 of PULP KITCHEN.
An exciting announcement.
And you guys have been asking. We've had little nudges in emails, people DMing us.
An exciting announcement at the end of this episode. Stay tuned for that. So let's get on with the films you have to review. We didn't say that the Hitman and Priscilla are part of the London Film Festival.
Yes, that's what I've been doing this week.
So this is probably the first of 3 weeks we're going to have now of movie reviews based on the London Film Festival. So let's get into those, shall we, before I completely run out of steam. So when I was away last week, James, one thing I missed was our invitation to go to the IMAX to see a premiere of The Creator, the new film from Gareth
Edwards.
Thank you. I always get confused with Gareth Evans. I saw you post some stuff on social media about it. It looks very exciting. A new science fiction original concept movie. What's going on?
Got to meet him. There's a nice Q&A. Instead of you coming, I took Magic Ollie. You know Magic Ollie?
Yes, a friend of ours a friend of James's, who's friend of the show.
Friend of the show.
Who can do absolutely fantastic magic.
He's
witchcraft,
very good.
really.
Yeah, really good. He comes to my birthday and my friends' birthdays, but it's like having a magician that you paid for just turn up. It's really, really good.
I've said to him he needs to do it in the dispassionate kind of David Blaine way of doing it.
Yeah. Hey, you want to see some magic?
Look at this quarter. What about it now?
See, it's actually through the hand.
Whoa, it's through the hand.
First of all, what I'll say, George, amazing seats at the IMAX.
They have.
Seats we were given.
Oh, they were given you.
Right, smack bang in the middle, just a tiny bit lower than halfway up, so the size of the screen is almost sort of like towering over you. I felt very important.
Oh, nice.
Felt very special. PR lady was like, "Oh God, I've got your tickets here. Oh, thank you so much."
And where's George? Who?
What? Yeah. So it included a Q&A with Gareth Edwards, and the great Edith Bowman came out and did a very sort of like softly spoken conversation with him all about it. And it was really nice. And Gareth Edwards, who he did the 2014 Godzilla, he did Monsters before that, and he did Rogue One. He directed Rogue One, which I'd say, from our perspective, is probably one of the better products that Star Wars have made since the Disney acquisition. Yes. I think a lot of people would agree with that. It had a very troubled production.
Yes.
If you look at the early trailers, there are shots in those trailers that didn't make it into the film. We had heard that there were, I think, rewrites and reshoots, right? And from our perspective, while we know that, I think the film ultimately works and is one of the better Star Wars films we can point at. But I think I was aware that Gareth Edwards, before this film, had basically a bad time making it. And there are certain comments that he's made, both in the Q&A that I saw and in other interviews, which sort of very much allude to the fact that he had a really bad time making that film, and that he was ever so slightly scarred by that whole process. Big studio, lots of pressure, huge IP, but at the same time, he loved Star Wars, he loved sci-fi, and he was like, I was never going to turn down the opportunity. So these are his words, to tell a story in the best story universe of all time, right? And so you could look at that, and I think a lot of directors would potentially come from a very bad experience and go, big sci-fi, big idea, big studio. A lot of people might actually withdraw from that kind of movie making. But I think what instead he's done is he's really gone, no, I love sci-fi. I love telling big stories. Like he always has a good sense of scale, I think, in Rogue One and in Godzilla. I want to tell these types of stories, but what I want to do is tell it in my way. And that's exactly what I think the creator is. Has a budget of $80 million, which if you told me it was 180, I would have believed you. And in the Q&A, what he said was that he looked at how much it would cost to build sets in a studio and do it on green screen. And he realized that it was going to cost more to do that than take a much smaller crew to Cambodia, Thailand, Nepal, the places he wanted to film, and film that instead. And so he decided to basically have a smaller film budget, not that you can tell, and actually go to the locations that they filmed
and do it like they used to.
And basically do it like they used to.
Which is a bit like how he did in Monsters. Have you ever seen that?
I think it was back to basics of like...
One thing that's... I
haven't seen
one
it,
thing, sorry to interrupt, but the one thing that they do, that made that film stand out at the time, is like that's shot in like Mexico and the US-Mexican border, but it's like, it's real location, and then After Effects, special effects put in afterwards. That Gareth Edwards basically said he did from his bedroom.
Yeah.
And it was made for like a budget of like £100,000 or something, really tiny. But that's clearly carried forward, so that's great.
He has this sort of approach where he talks about it's sort of a shoot and see approach, which I'll get onto a bit later, but it's like, I found myself here in Halong Bay, and I had like a little like commercial drone up, and I just popped it up and got that shot, and that made it in.
Great.
And then it was like, while they were warming up, I actually got that actor, and we're like, let's just shoot something over here. And I think he doesn't like to be, locked in and creatively for the day. And so it's interesting, again, like could have recoiled from trying to do something so big and ambitious or big idea. And he's not done that. And what he's made is the creator. And what we have in the creator, it's set in a world like ours, and it starts with this really interesting opening sort of 5-minute montage of a brief history of how AI got integrated into society. So it starts with like, they'll hoover your home for you and make you dinner, and also they'll like shoot machine guns and go to war, and you can see how like these machines with faces become integrated into a society. And then what happens is this escalates, and you get sort of fake archive footage of congressmen in the US talking about we were going to ban this, and something happens and the AI nuke Los Angeles.
Whoa.
And millions of people die. And so because of that, the West declares war on AI. And the East, again, like just called the East, or the new United Asian Territories, are very much of the opinion that AI is sentient and is real, and the pain they feel is real, and they should be regarded as real. We're going to keep developing and building AI, and they are very much proliferated in the East. And it's set in 2065 when the film starts, and caught in the middle is ex-Special Forces agent Joshua, who's recruited to hunt down and kill the creator, or Nirmata. And I'm going to do a very light touch of plot here, because I have heard some other people talk about the film in, I think, too much detail. So I'm going to give stuff which is very much in the opening few minutes of the film. He's recruited to hunt down and kill the creator, who is the elusive architect of a more advanced AI, right? And it's basically this idea, this AI is going to be a weapon that will control all technology, okay? And they soon discover, and this is very much in the trailer, that the world-ending weapon is an AI in the form of a young child, right? So there's this whole reveal to get this vault, and what they find is a young child, which is, sort of, again, very familiar territory for lots of other films.
Yeah.
While that is happening in the plot, Joshua is also in pursuit of a personal connection from his past. And that's all I'm going to say, because I think you want to basically find that out for yourself. If, like me, you love sci-fi and you looked at the post of this film and you've looked at the trailers for this film, you can sort of rub your hands together and go, oh, there's so many things for me to be excited about. The references to other great sci-fi films in this are like, so it really wears them on its sleeve. There's numerous. I wrote down Blade Runner, Ex Machina, Aliens, District 9, Star Wars mostly, which is actually quite ironic considering that he's just come off a Star Wars project and he's made a film that, like, very similar to Star Wars. There's even a Death Star-esque type weapon that, like, shoots down from space that's like a real sort of like turning point for the plot of like, will it or will it? That's like a real sort of like, will it or won't it? Apocalypse Now as well, you could look out and really see that.
Yeah, I got that kind of vibe, especially when you were telling the way he was shooting. I was like, sounds like Coppola going out to Vietnam and shooting
100%. I really like the design of the AI. It's kind of, if you looked at them head on, you wouldn't really know, because they have, some of them have humanoid faces, but when they turn their head, there's this hollow cylinder. It's sort of like this idea of like the brain being hollow, but inside it you can see cogs turning and moving, and when they operate on each other, they stick their little nubbin inside the hole and do some tweaking, and like sonic screwdriver type thing. And like very similar to Ex Machina, I thought the design of the synthetic robots was just great. Gareth Edwards talked about references to 80s technology, like the Sony Walkman and the sort of Nintendo consoles, like hard diagonal lines and things flowing. And it just, I just really liked it. I thought that design was really striking. I could see where it was borrowing from, but it felt really original. And I was like, that feels like your own thing, even though I can see what you're borrowing from. Like a lot of this film, so much of it does feel like an iteration on great sci-fi, but I think it's very well reimagined, and so much of it feels distinct and original. I loved the world that he created. As soon as he started, it felt like soaking into a nice hot sci-fi bath.
Nice.
If you like sci-fi, you're like, I get that. I'm in.
Good design, interesting ideas.
Yes, lots of things flowing. We just talked about that whole approach of like shooting first and then painting and stuff later. I think the CG in this film is the best modern use of CG I've seen in a really long time.
Oh, wow.
It's so well done. And I think that I almost want to sort of say, I want other creators to look at this and go, shoot somewhere first, get your actual thing, and then go in and paint what's there. So I can tell.
Go outside.
Go outside and see things. Take people out.
Stop shooting it. Sorry. What was that thing you said they shoot the Mandalorian on? The
volume.
Yeah. So stop shooting in the volume.
Yeah, which works better than green screen. But still, it's like go and actually like be in a real place. It's also not a film that, like, you look at a Christopher Nolan film and be like, there's CG, but he paints with a very light, fine brush. It's a very heavily CG shot. There are lots of CG shots, but just it felt real, it felt there. Even the bits which definitely aren't, could possibly be there. I'm like, that looks like it's there. And I just implore other filmmakers to go, let's just like look at that and see how it is. So again, in the Q&A, which I'm going to reference in my review, he talked a lot about the relationship with making a film, how you can start the process with an idea and you're on such a high, and then you go to write it and you realize your idea is broken, it's a low, and then you go to start, you fix it and you shoot and it's a high, but then over the course of shooting, you're like, what the hell have I done? It's a real low, and then you get your first assembly. And you look at it and you're like, oh my God, what have I done? And he talked about this process where he watched a first 5-hour cut of the creator with no score and no visual effects. And he was like, how the hell do I loop this all together and edit it so it makes it fit? It's funny you said that because I kind of feel like it comes across. I feel like I can see a larger cut of a film that has had lots of stuff lifted from it. And things have been stitched together, but in a way that feels a little bit fragmented. I don't know if maybe there was a lull in the middle or some threads in there feel like spare parts. And I think back to scenes earlier after I've now seen the film and I think, where was that going? So it does go on to have a really good ending and a really good finale, and I was very satisfying and cathartic, and when it ends, I had a big smile on my face because I thought, oh, that's a really, really good ending. And then I saw a lot of the main beats of the plot coming from a mile away. So I'm thinking as I'm watching it, I could still tell what was going to happen. Was that meant to be a big reveal or plot twist, or did you already know I was going to kind of figure that out? I couldn't quite tell. So I'm not sure how interested I was in the middle of it, if that makes sense. I think John David Washington is great. Madeline Una Voiles, who's the child called Alfie, is also brilliant. There's loads of great moments of humour between them, which I thought really worked. And coming out of it, I can't tell if I feel sorry for Gareth Edwards, because he started writing this film in 2017, 2018. And there's a certain irony of the fact that actors are literally not allowed to promote this film because they're currently on strike. And one of the main points of contention over like AI being used to replicate actors and this whole idea of what's really human and should you be doing it. I can't tell if this film is really relevant or it's already dated. I can't quite see the forest for the trees on that yet. But I think what you will come away from it is that is a really good sci-fi film, a feast for the eyes, made by someone who clearly has an enormous passion for that genre for people who also love sci-fi.
That's fantastic. Well, that's a really. I'm keen to watch it as I was last week, but I'll try and catch up.
Yeah.
I think that's it just goes to show when you talk about the idea of like a massive cut and whittling it down.
Yeah.
And it's always important to keep this in the back of our mind. Making a film is really hard.
So
like
hard.
we understand that, and we try not to be flippant because it's easy to just see the tip of the iceberg above the water, and go, oh well, nothing, and then you don't realize all the work and all the brain power, and all the time,
years of work into 1 2-hour screening, and it's like, oh yeah, it's fine.
evenings late home and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, if you've seen The Creator and you'd like to write in and tell us your thoughts to hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com, you can do that by doing that.
What I will also say is that so we had a Q&A with him afterwards, which was great.
Yes.
And it was called, like, it was the invitation to go was like, see the film Creator in IMAX with Q&A with Gareth Edwards. And I thought we'd be able to ask questions.
No.
But you couldn't. It was sort of being live streamed. It's Edith asking questions and you watch, they couldn't really get a mic to us anyway. But I was like, oh, I really want to ask him a question. Like, he's there. Can I see him? He like sort of got escorted out the cinema at the end of the Q&A, and I was like, oh shit, it'd be great to speak to him. And then I come down the foyer, and who's there just standing in the middle? Gareth Edwards, waiting, just like having a chit chat. And he's being pulled in like 6 different directions, and people are asking for photos and things. I was like, oh, I'd love to just get a question out of him. Mainly content for my podcast, to take a photo to put on social media, but it would just be really great to meet him. So I realized I maybe had like 10 seconds because every time someone had a picture, it's like taking them away. And I asked a really sort of nerdy specific question. A few weeks ago, I said that he shot the whole film on this tiny like prosumer camera, and I was really surprised at how good it looks and how you'd never tell. And I thought he shot it in like a very stretched anamorphic, but I wasn't sure, so I wanted to ask him. So I said to Gareth, I was like, oh, Gareth, do you mind if I just quickly ask you a question about the film? And he was like, yeah, sure. I was like, it's quite nerdy cinematography stuff. And he was like, oh yeah, go for it. And I was like, I know you shot on the FX3, and that's so interesting that you do that, and you've also shot anamorphic, but like why? Why do that for this film? What effect does that create on your shot, and why do it? And he was like, well, I actually use like a 2x anamorphic lens from the 1970s, which you get extra depth of field from a photography sensor. And I also wanted people won't know what I'm talking about. The camera has a dual native 12,800 ISO, which means I could shoot at the dark, which I really wanted to do. And then I just didn't want to hold a big camera. And I was like, but yeah, it was the anamorphic thing. And he said, there's a version of the film which is even more stretched out, because he had to cut off the sides of his film. And he says, like, only Tarantino was able to screen it with the Hateful Eight, but hopefully I'll be able to screen my film in that way. And I was like, oh my God, thanks so much.
If you speak cinematography and would like to translate what James just says, no, that's really interesting. And good on you for getting in there. On behalf of all of us.
And
getting in there. And
I feel like I sort of threw a question at him a little bit, but he wasn't fazed at all. He was like, yeah, we did that. That was it.
James, I can guarantee he would much rather have that question than, I just thought I saw a reference in there to C-3PO. Yeah. Could you confirm whether or not, what's your favourite Star Wars film?
I thought it was similar to Blade Runner.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah.
Hot take.
Okay. Yeah, it's really good. I hope people go and see it.
Well, really good with a touch of a bit flawed here and there, but like,
yeah, worth seeing. If you love sci-fi, you're gonna have a great time.
Cool. James, as regular listeners to the show will know, I'm a huge Richard Linklater fan. Whenever he hears a new film out, I'm always very interested. See previous episodes for discussions about his work. He has a new film that's coming out, a release date that has not even been announced yet.
Nope.
But it's a new film in the can.
That's what I knew about it. It's a new
film from Richard Linklater that you've been able to see. Tell us about it.
So yeah, I have this really unique experience which we never get the chance to do because not only do we like films, but we cover them on a weekly basis. So if something's coming out or happening, we're going to know about it. And I just sort of like was racking off a list of films I could see before I go away. And I see Hitman, it's like Hit Space Man, Richard Linklater, Glen Powell, and I just know nothing about it.
Yeah.
I do some like very hard Googling to find anything about it, not referencing the films of the game series. Yeah. And I see I don't even know what the tone is, but I see rom-com meets action comedy thriller. And my first instinct is, that's a lot of genres. I'm not sure how I feel about trying to tackle all of those different things. And that's quite, but it's really rare to just go in for a film in the morning with a festival crowd and be like, I don't know what's going to happen, but like.
That's good though, in a way.
It's great, and it really works in the film's favor. I'm actually curious to see how they're going to cut a trailer for it. But annoyingly for you guys listening, there is no trailer, there is no poster. There is one like still lifted from the film of Glen Powell, looking cool in a thing, but again, nothing about it. So this is.
So here's a review of a film that you will have not heard about, that you won't be able to see soon.
Yeah, maybe in a few weeks we'll.
But we got in there first.
And we'll republish this review. It's about the access. So Glen Powell co-wrote this script with Linklater, which again I realise when I see co-wrote by.
And Glen Powell from Top Gun.
Yes, you'll know from Top Gun Maverick, and what else would I know him in?
He's been in a couple of rom-coms
this year, which I didn't see.
Yeah, I think it was called Devotion. I think it was, and he was in the Setup, like a rom-com, I think.
Yeah,
like he's just been around. Handsome. He was in Hidden Figures as well as John Glenn. He's just got handsome kind of guy.
Which is interesting because I don't think he's been typecast, but I think I've seen him do very similar things in smaller supporting roles.
Everybody Wants Some. He was in, that was the film he was in. So Richard Linklater's film from 2016.
Fine, okay.
77.
And I can almost imagine he's probably thought, I've got so many more things to do. I'm way more versatile than anyone's going to give me credit for. Why don't I write something and show off what I can do? And this film really does do that. So Glen Powell plays Gary, who is a nerdy, boring, very mild philosophy professor who specializes in the identity of the self, the projections of personality versus the internal perspective, and this is loosely based off a true story from an article, this whole premise, right? Who in his spare time provides tech assistance for the undercover police officers, right?
Wow.
So he's a very sort of like technological guy, like microphones, computers, things. And what they specialize in is trying to catch people who are attempting murder, but more specifically, people who go and try to hire a hitman to kill someone. So this could be like a partner, someone who's destroying their business, an enemy, anyone. The police will track down that communication and essentially intercept it with an undercover police officer pretending to be the hitman. They mic themselves up, have a meeting with the person, wait for them to incriminate themselves. And then when they do, police swarm in, you're under arrest for attempting the murder, you're hiring, solicit murder, whatever you want to call it. And so, he's basically, on one of these things, and the guy who's meant to be undercover isn't going to do it. And they're like, "Oh, Gary, can you just do us a solid and step in?" And he's like, "What are you talking about? No, I'm not gonna step in. Like, well, yeah, it's fine. Like, here's your identity. This is the persona. Just have a quick read through. Just cooperate until they say something, and then we'll come in and arrest them." And he's like, "Oh God, right, fine." He's like, "Okay, be cool. You're a hitman. You're a hitman." And he goes in and he speaks to this person in a diner, and he's kind of just dressed as himself, but he kind of almost like adopts this new personality, and the first time he does it, he has a real knack for it. Like, he has a completely new sense of who he is. He becomes this like killer version of himself. And they're like, "Holy shit, Gary, you were really good at that. You're really, really great." And so he ends up becoming the go-to guy for the police to like become the guy. So he ends up adopting like hundreds of different personas. He meets all of these people. Some of them are bad people, some of them are good people, some of them are very misguided people, but all of them are trying to ask him, "Hey, I want you to kill this guy." And he ends up taking them all down. And, some of them he's like dressed as a redneck, some he's like a sneaky biker. And it's like that first sort of part of the film is you just seeing him take down all of these people. One particular character that he creates is called Ron. And Ron is kind of similar looking to Gary, but he's like a thematic opposite. He's very cool, he's collected, he's dangerous because he's a hitman. He's kind of like a sort of, he dresses well, his voice is deeper, he's slick, he's cool. And he sort of accidentally stumbles upon this new persona as Ron.
Like Youth in Revolt with Michael Cera.
Yeah, kind of like honestly not that far. And he gets caught up in this elaborate, unhinged, twisted plot where he has no idea who Gary is, where Ron ends, and I had such a good time not knowing anything about the film, and I'm not going to reveal too much of what happens, but it's a rom-com thriller action comedy, and I've not had so much fun in the cinema. It's such a long time watching this film. I was head back, slapping my knee, really, really having a good time. It's crazy and unhinged, and it's a comedy that just every 10, 15 minutes, it was layering the next thing. And you're just like, oh my God, I cannot believe where this is going. I was surprised that I found it immediately funny. I was laughing within like 100 seconds of it starting. Just good, consistent cracks, and then the plot just evolves and evolves and evolves. It has this fine balance between being really high stakes, and you're like, this is just ridiculous, but also all the characters and the delivery of the characters feels very normal, so it's really relatable, and I just connect with all of these people. They feel like real people in this crazy situation. Glen Powell, just again, I totally get why you wrote this for yourself, because you're like, I can do so many different things, and I would have, in my head, not that I think about Glen Powell a lot, I would have just gone, oh yeah, you play that kind of role. If I want you to be like the sort of cocky one in Top Gun Maverick, you're great at that, and he is good in that, but I'm like, oh, you can do so many things, and you're great about you're just great in it. I was thinking about, because it's a really successful romantic comedy and it's a good one. I'm like, is this new? Or is it just what's been missing in the genre for a really long time? And I think it's that. I think it's fresh. I think other films have done this before, but for some reason this works. I'm on the edge of my seat whilst like having a romantic thing and a fun thriller thing. And I you know what was interesting, and I was thinking, what is this film like? And I think if you put the genres on paper, you would come up with films like The Hitman's Bodyguard and like Bullet Train, because on paper they're the same genre, but the execution is completely different. So I don't know what to compare this with, because a computer would go, these are similar films, but no, they're not. Well, they're doing very different things.
That's why I was interested, because it's not the kind of film Linklater has made before.
No.
He's dabbled with a bit of genre here and there,
and you
but
can
like
see
it's
the
really
elements of his dialogue style in there, and I think that's what some of the better parts of it. It's something that I think is missing from modern rom-com. It's fresh, and I hope people look at this and go, yeah, that's how you write sometimes a cheesy rom-com, but and make it feel relevant and cool and not cringy. It's ridiculous, but I never felt, even some of the dialogue between some people, I'm like, this is so ridiculous, but I'm having so much fun.
Yeah.
I'm with you the whole way. I think if you do go and see it, in a cinema with a crowd of people laughing along with you, and don't Google too much about it, because there's just so much fun to be had. And when the festival audience finished, people clapped and everyone was laughing at like the gags towards the end, and everyone standing up was just like, oh, it's so much fun with that. That was so much fun. Oh, that was so fun. It
reminds me of when I saw Glass Onion last year in a packed cinema. Again, just like silly but well
100%.
executed.
Talia saw Glass Onion on her phone in a transfer when we were flying back from South Africa, and she was like, it was all right, and I'm like, you watched it in the worst environment.
Yeah, how disrespectful.
You watched it in the worst, like on your phone, like stopping, got to go through passports.
No, you're not.
I was glaring at her the entire time.
She's not allowed on the show.
That's
again.
what I said. Yeah, I know. I was like, you're not allowed to give an opinion. But just again, my experience is unique because I knew nothing about it going in, and I just got everything about it surprised me, and I enjoyed so much of what it showed me. So I hope people watch it and sort of try not to get too much shown to you, but it's really, really good fun.
I've just had a little check online, and Netflix has bought the film,
right,
based on really good reception at Venice and Toronto, and I guess obviously London as well. So I guess it'll be coming to Netflix soon, but hopefully it'll get cinema. Usually these big films, they get a good enough reception, they'll have a cinema release as well. Oh,
being in a crowd and watching it and laugh again, like immediately funny, and just like, oh my God, everyone realizing it's great.
I'm excited. I like to see an established talent trying something new. Whether that in this case is Glen Powell and Richard Linklater.
Yeah.
Who else is in the cast, by the way?
Oh, we've got Adria Arjona, who plays Maddie, if you've seen the film. Austin Amelio, Molly Kate Bernard, Retta, who is in Parks and Rec. She's Genuine's brother in Parks and Rec.
Oh, wow. Okay, so really...
Mostly unknowns. Basically,
Okay.
Glen Powell's the only person in there who you'll know.
Interesting.
And I didn't even feel that watching it.
Brilliant. Okay.
You know when you know how The Hangover was a comedy, but Todd Phillips shot The Hangover like it was a crime noir grungy film,
Yeah.
and it had this very distinct quality to it for a comedy, and it was R-rated.
Yeah.
It's almost like that merging of different cinematography style
Yeah.
to what would be like a sleazy, I don't know, drunken comedy.
Yeah.
I almost wonder if there's a similar effect going on here, but I can't quite put my finger on it.
I'm excited to see it. Well, let's tell you what, we're on tenterhooks. We know it's coming to Netflix soon.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine it'll be in the next few months. That was Hitman. We'll keep an eye on it. If anyone else has seen it,
Yeah.
has had early
Yeah,
access
but-
as well,
Yeah.
let us know in a spoiler-free way what you thought about it. Again, to hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com.
So very similar to Pablo Larraín's Spencer from 2021 and Jackie from 2016. Priscilla is a woman's name as the title of very revealing and dramatic biopic with gorgeous cinematography and understating leading performance. Obviously not directed by Pablo Larraín. Sofia Coppola is giving us Priscilla based on the novel Elvis and Me. I think Sofia Coppola has directed and done the screenplay for this.
Question.
Yeah.
When you say, like, just before we get into, just so I understand this film, when you say like Jackie and Spencer, is it a sort of like hyper surreal kind of strange
Surreal,
fairy
interesting.
is it a fairy tale kind of retelling?
Potentially, yeah,
Okay.
of the perspective of
Potentially, I mean,
revealing-
you've seen it.
Yeah,
You tell
well,
me.
no, it's like an interesting question based on how it's presented.
Is it like
Maybe.
is it presenting itself as fact, or is it slightly more heightened to be a little bit more
It's
dreamlike?
incredibly, dreamlike's a good way to describe
Okay.
it. Personal perspective.
And based on a autobiography or
the
biography?
book Elvis and Me, written by Priscilla.
Got
Presley.
it.
Yeah.
I'm in.
And yeah, once again, there was a trailer, but I didn't watch it because I had such a good time watching Hitman. I was like, I know I'm going to see Priscilla. I've not seen the trailer, and that's okay. I'd quite like to just go in not knowing anything. And Sofia Coppola, you admit, I've not seen a lot of her films. I should really catch up, but it has an affinity certainly for capturing a sense of isolation, loneliness.
Absolutely.
And the story of Priscilla Presley is no stranger to those themes. As a lot of people would have known, she was in a relationship with Elvis Presley from 1959 through into the 1970s. And the film opens in West Germany in 1959, where also Elvis was stationed during his time at the US Army. And Priscilla's father... Yes, sorry. Priscilla's father was also an officer stationed there. The film follows their relationship into Priscilla ultimately leaving her family to move to Graceland, where she stays and mostly waits for Elvis to return from tours, movie shoots, TV appearances. It sort of documents their relationship, how early the introduction of pills and drugs were into Elvis's life. You know, he just says like, it's from the doctor to stop my head going crazy. I didn't realize, I think I knew something, but I didn't realize Priscilla was 14 when she was introduced to Elvis. And out of the gate, as I said earlier, it was very clear it's a story from her perspective, right? From her experience. And so on one hand, I can see that relationship in the time period makes sense, and you take into account. No, I'm saying like how it happened, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying it's okay. I can understand where that happens, especially taking into account the celebrity icon status of Elvis at the time, and the dynamic of Elvis being much older. But that setup of how they met is deeply uncomfortable to watch, and I think it's Coppola very clearly telegraphing the stages of grooming, and you're presented with the beginnings of a relationship that feels very uneasy to see play out. Even though the characters on screen aren't finding it uneasy, watching it, you're like, it just looks like all the stages of grooming you would have heard about when that kind of thing happens. Like that they're in West Germany, and there's a big sort of expat American community, and they've built like a 1950s style diner where a lot of them go, and they have parties at each other's houses because they're a small community. And so an officer like spots Priscilla at the diner, and he says, "Oh, well, would you like to come meet Elvis Presley?" And she's like, "Oh, I can't. I got school." And he's like, "My daddy won't let me." He's like, "Let me talk to your daddy. I'll make sure that's all fine." You're like bringing someone young to a celebrity. And then, so there's that presentation of the relationship and a sense of someone who has suffered in their youth and who later on in life has come to understand the very complex exchanges of intimacy or lack thereof that they experienced as a child or as a young woman. And it really is about intimacy and what that relationship was like and where it fell short and why it developed the way they did. And it was interesting because, we watched Baz Luhrmann's Elvis last year, and that was Elvis's story, and it was this big, dazzling collage of his life, a celebration, and there's the dancing and the music. And in this, it's Priscilla's story. Jacob Elordi's Elvis is a supporting character in this. He is to Priscilla in this, not Elvis to Priscilla. And I think Jacob Elordi's Elvis is really great, and I think it's wonderfully contrasted to Priscilla. Like physically, he towers over her, and he's tall, and he has this sort of iconic silhouette that even at the time was really famous. Like he's shot in silhouette, his face is often darkened, and because it's from her perspective, we don't see the highlights of Elvis's career.
Yeah.
We don't see him dancing on stage. There's no singing.
Yeah.
It's between the tours. It's between the movie shoots.
Yeah.
It's at Graceland waiting for him and playing baseball with his friends in the garden and the ups and the downs. And what we do get and what we're shown are the moments between the two of them in bed, the gardens in Graceland, Priscilla waiting for him to come back at parties, because Priscilla wasn't there and she doesn't know. And Elvis keeps saying this thing, you gotta keep the home fires burning. I'll be back, gotta keep the home fires burning. Like the Colonel, for example, which we were wondering how present he'd be in this, he's just a voice on the phone. He's a presence that draws Elvis away, draws him in different directions. Well, I got the Colonel on the phone, I should probably take that. And what I think this film does really well, it focuses on stillness and emptiness and details and the flick of mascara and the tying of bows on clothing like it's an armor or a fake costume that you have to wear. And what was great is because the movie advances forward in time, but a lot of the environment stays the same, and you can see the environment change as Elvis's career did. And you can see it starts sort of very normal and twee, and as Elvis's pop persona and his outfits get more and more ridiculous, so does his environment and what sort of Priscilla has to maintain. And there's this sort of one of the sort of big reveals, which isn't sort of a plot spoiler, it's part of the entire film, is how Elvis basically didn't want to touch her, he didn't want to sleep with her, he didn't want to taint his impression of Priscilla. And there's a denied intimacy in their relationship, which is really, really interesting. And for years, he just didn't sleep with her. So although you look at this thing and look at this story and think, oh, surely that would have been happening from really early on, and they were obviously intimate and kissing, but he basically just wouldn't have sex with her. And it's a really interesting study from
like a religious point of view, or like just this sort of belief in like absolute beauty and the sort of piousness.
Yeah, it's like he wanted to save this pure part of the other side of his life. And she's left her family home, moved to his entire world where he gives her everything. She's completely given herself over to him, and she's denied a sense of intimacy that would make her life now feel complete. And, all the while that's happening, while Elvis is away, there are news stories, pictures in magazines of Elvis kissing women or apparently having flirtatious, things with Nancy Sinatra and other women on film sets. And just, you could just imagine all of those things. And she's getting them in. And then when she challenges him, he's just erratic. And it shows Elvis also being a trap of his own fame. And it's... like he talks when he was young. He's like, I want to be in movies like Marlon Brando or James Dean. I want to really find something that makes me feel like I've created something. And he showed that he really had a disdain for the music that he was sent in, and he was angry at Priscilla because like nothing's ever sent me anything good. I want to make something that I can be remembered for. That's my very bad Elvis. But and so yeah, I think it's. I love how still it is. It's the creation of that very iconic silhouette of Elvis, but I think it shows that the creating of that was the disintegration of himself. And he was this shy singer who wanted more, who was caught up in this crazy fame frenzy, and sort of battling to contain him and fall in love with him is Priscilla. And then this newcomer who I've not seen in anything, but I think was in Good Times at the El Royale.
Oh, right.
So
Bad Times at the El Royale.
Bad Times at the El, sorry. Bad Times at the El is a different movie. Callie Speeney, who plays Priscilla, is fantastic. She could very well be nominated for her performance. She starts the film playing a 14-year-old. I think she's 25. And I was wondering, are they going to recast halfway through? But she plays Priscilla all the way through, I think into her 30s. And you're like, just so well aged over that whole period. Really good at playing 14, 15, 16. I was just really, really good. Elordi's Elvis is really softly spoken, but very shy. And it's an Elvis that I think is confused and erratic and also a creep. It's not a celebration of that man. It's like, this is a lost man trapped in a cycle that he never really started, and just very damaged. Again, I talked about sort of the use of drugs. It would be nominated for makeup, hair, costume, design. The dresses are immaculate, incredible attention to detail, and just like this Priscilla being this glamour icon with the 60s hair, that's really strong there, and these Americana dresses, and it's you can see she's trapped at home, and it's a culture she thinks she has to mimic, but it's like she never really feels a part of it. It's like what she thinks she should dress, and Elvis tells her, "Oh, you should wear blue, honey. That's your color. Don't wear brown. I don't like it." And he really sort of gets upset, and so she's barely hearing from him, but knows she has to wear blue. It's a film that really took its time, and I'm glad it took its time. I think it's very thought-provoking and a bit haunting.
That sounds, great. Honestly, it sounds really great.
So you walk out the cinema, and it's a very sort of slow, and it takes its time, and you're like, God, that's really.
That's what I liked about it.
Interesting perspective, and I'm glad it's come a year after Elvis, not to take away from Baz Luhrmann's Elvis, but it's a whole nother story from a whole nother perspective.
That sounds great. I mean, that's what I liked about things like Jackie and Spencer. Less so Blonde.
Blonde.
But I think that really, I like that, taking something we're very familiar with and showing you a different side to it by telling it through her eyes. That's coming out in November. Okay, 6th. So that's coming out quite soon for people who are listening.
There's a trailer out for it as well.
Yeah, I think that sounds really interesting. It's hearing you talk about the 3 films today has been, you've kind of, I can tell you're excited for different reasons about each one.
Yeah,
and
I'm subdued when I'm talking about what's exciting about this.
If you had to pick your favorite of the 3 that you've reviewed on this week's show,
Hitman.
Yeah.
I had the most fun with Hitman. I don't really have a minus point for Hitman.
That's really cool.
That's really funny. Also, I think there's a thing I want to talk about with this, but there's like an omission that this film has, which must be a distinct choice from Sofia Coppola, which I'd rather talk to you about when you've seen it.
Okay.
Because I just think you should experience it for yourself. But there's something that's missing from the film that I think you focus so much on intimacy, and you've missed out this exchange. And there was a big jump in the story for me. And coming out, I'm like, why was that an omission? So again, I don't want to go too long with that, because I think people listening should also get. So we can do a spoiler chat when you've seen it. But yeah, you come out with some films feeling really elated, and you love it because you're elated and it's fun. And other films you go, God, that's good because it's really made me think. And I think Priscilla should do quite well with people.
Okay, guys, that's out in November. And if anyone has also seen it ahead of that release date, like James has, and wants to share their thoughts, please email in, as you know, to hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com. But I think that sounds great. I'm looking forward to all the films you said today. I think sound great.
You'll like everything I've talked about, and I think you'll like. Yeah, you'll like everything I've talked about.
Oh, George will like is so moody and haunted.
No, I think you'll like Hitman as well.
Is the music good?
Yes.
The score
good score. Just the design of it, impeccable. There's loads of wonderful shots of like toes walking on squidgy carpets and mascara, and I want to say it was all shot on the same lens, but I'm probably wrong. But it all looked of one perspective of one eye.
She does do films about isolation a lot. Sofia Coppola. I think that's quite sharp. I hadn't thought about that.
And sort of environments being prisons, Lost in Translation, like the hotel.
Rocks,
you know what I mean? The environment being oppressive,
yeah.
But what you would consider an otherwise beautiful location. Like Graceland is stunning, but you're like, it's a trap, and it's a representation of this awful fame which traps them both, and it's loads of things to take away from it.
Great, I'm sold.
Just picking up on a thought, Priscilla. Is that going into it, I was wondering how would Jacob Elordi's Elvis be compared to Austin Butler's Elvis? And as soon as it started, I realised they're trying to achieve completely different things. Yeah. And both of them have merits, but they're going for very different things, and both performances are very much separate, and it's not even worth going, who did better in this? Austin Butler, definitely incredible.
Oh, hey there, mama.
I think Jacob Elordi's really good at it. Yeah. But he's also like sinister in a similar way that his Euphoria character was. Not in the same way, but like you see that strand cutting through there, and you're like,
he needs to play like a lovable
sweetheart
best friend.
He needs to do like a Nicholas Sparks book adaptation.
Adam, shall we read some emails?
Let's do it.
This week we have an email from Felix, who writes in about Werner Herzog, who says, "Hi guys, hope you're both doing well. I would say going. Hope you do. I am tired because I read that completely wrong. Hi guys, hope you're both doing well. I just got back from a family reunion in the Netherlands where, with a few hours to kill before flying back to our respective homes, my sisters and I decided to visit the I Film Museum in Amsterdam.
Oh.
Besides being hosted in a beautiful modern building in a spectacular location on the waterfront, the museum also doubles as a cinema, as well as a film archive, and has a fascinating permanent exhibition about the technical history and development of cinema. Oh my God, we must go.
We should go.
I highly recommend it should you ever find yourself in that part of the world. The reason I'm writing to you, however, is that they also had an exhibition devoted to Werner Herzog, which turned out to be a bit of an eye-opener for me. After seeing excerpts of several of his films and behind-the-scenes footage, as well as learning about his view of the world. James, is that you Googling Werner Herzog?
No, I'm Googling where he's from. To check he's German.
Yeah, as well as world and fascination with the battle between humans and nature.
It is.
Yeah. I came to the conclusion that his films have been a massive blind spot for me. I've always had a great general awareness of him as a reputable filmmaker, but for some reason never watched any of his films, and naively assumed they were from a bygone era. Wanting to better myself and with the summer having ended rather abruptly, I decided to work my way through the Herzog filmography. Do you have any recommendations on where to start? I also don't remember you discussing him on the podcast, or at least not in any depth, so I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on his films. Keep up the great work. I thoroughly enjoy each and every one of your episodes, and I've been recommending it to all my friends who have even the slightest interest in films. Yes, very good. Join us. Yes. Congratulations with your upcoming 2-year anniversary, and greetings from Brighton.
News on that later.
Yes. Best Felix. James, Werner Herzog.
I said in my in our Blind Spots episode that he was a director who's in my blind spot, but I hear Grizzly Man is great.
Yeah, Grizzly Man. So I've only seen, because he's an accomplished documentary filmmaker as well as a feature film documentary, and I've seen one of his documentaries, which is Grizzly Man,
yes, I remember this,
which was very good, and I've also seen Rescue Dawn, which is the Vietnam War film with Christian Bale in it. It's the Vietnam prisoner of war film.
Yeah.
Which was quite good as well.
Yeah.
But I've not seen Fitzcarraldo, and that's the one that he made in the jungle in the 70s, and they just pulled a ship over a hill, and
cool.
kind of lots of famous stories came out of that. All this stuff with Klaus Kinski. I've not seen that stuff.
How present is he in his documentaries?
Well,
is he there?
Yes. So in Grizzly Man, he is and he's also such a fantastic presence. He's in The Mandalorian, the first season.
You to show me the baby.
Yeah, it's Timothy Treadwell. I love the bears. And in The Mandalorian, he's like, show me the child. It's kind of whispery, but also threatening.
You're on your way to your Richard E. Grant. You're not far.
I haven't done Vernon in a while. If I think about Grizzly Man, it's like, the Timothy Treadwell loved the bears. But the bears showed great intelligence. It's just fantastic. He's
presence to the documentary.
Yeah. Timothy Treadwell. Fantastic documentarian. Anyway, so that's the only two, but I would like to see more of his documentaries and more of his other stuff. That is Werner Herzog.
This next one is from Campbell, who says, "Hello, boyos. I drift into Australia next, so we'll be like, it's from Dan Oz. But no, it's Cam here from Barry in South Wales.
I'll allow it. I don't know if that's accurate. Is Barry in South Wales? Is that what Cameron says?
Yeah. Barry in South Wales.
Of course it is. Like Gavin and Stacey.
I've been listening to the podcast since about episode 40. Nice. And I'm currently on my second run through the Pulp Kitchen archives. It's like rewatching your favourite sitcom.
That's medal worthy. That's you get a pin and you get a badge pin for that.
Love that. Because, as we say in Barry, I bloody loves it. I'm working my way back through your God's Creatures episode, and it's been on my list since the first viewing of the pod. Listening to James's review again, I decided to finally get round to watching it and could say I totally agree with your opinions on it. Shout out to Bevan, the Irish correspondent. The pacing, the subtlety, and the performances were excellent. I also acted off another recommendation of yours, and I've been meaning to get round to, which was What Richard Did from 2012. Two films that were released 10 years apart, but share quite a lot of thematic similarities, e.g. The Guilt of the Parent. They worked excellently as a double bill and really complemented each other. I watched What Richard Did first and thought that worked best. Also, both around the 90-minute mark. Beautiful.
That's right.
As a final point, I thought I'd just single out my two favourite scenes from both movies. Number one, Lars Mikkelsen as Richard's dad Peter sitting awkwardly on a bench press with Richard trying to understand what happened that night was so powerful and authentic. I completely lost myself in the performance and I forgot I was watching a film at all. Yes, they're sort of like holding each other and...
I have a feeling I feel like someone told me that when they did that scene, Like they just like
Let them go.
and said when you're ready, and it took like hours, but brilliant. Very iconic. Yeah,
very good. Number 2, Emily Watson is Eileen Bryan's mother, looking up at the sky in the boat at the end.
Oh yeah.
She has the realization about her son and decides what she decides, or does she?
Yes.
That's what
Campbell
says,
yes.
or does she? Thank you for all the work you do to create an engaging, light-hearted, and informative podcast, and for a fun afternoon doing my Irish double bill. Highly recommend. I don't have a question, but instead a suggestion for a quick game. Can you name 7 Welsh actors in 30 seconds? George, 3, 2, 1, go.
Matthew Rhys, Anthony Hopkins, Richard Burton,
Michael Sheen,
Rob Brydon.
Yes, yeah.
Welsh.
Ooh, Welsh.
Wales.
Said Anthony Hopkins.
Eva, the woman from Eve Green, the one from Torchwood.
Who's the one from Gavin and Stacey? What's she called?
She's not actually.
Is she not?
No, they are from.
No, the blonde one. She's Welsh.
No, she's not.
She's
really.
not Welsh.
No, she's not.
Oh,
No.
she's got a great accent.
Yeah, Thingy Page. Yeah, no, she's not. I mean, that's gone 30 seconds already.
Yeah.
But we got maybe 5.
And then he says, "P.S. Christian Bale isn't Welsh."
Yeah, I know. But he's. I count him as British though, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, he does British. Yeah.
Line for double.
Even though Alfred, I don't know if I could even be the Batman anymore.
Get the hell off my set.
Okay.
And then he says, Pob Luick, which I've probably not pronounced correctly. Campbell.
Bless you.
Must be like love from.
Yes, love from. Thank you, Campbell, for that great email. This next one is from Benjamin, and it says, "Hi guys, loving the podcast. My older brother recommended it to me before I had to complete a long drive down to Cornwall this summer, and since then I've been hooked."
Nice.
That is you're locked in with us in that. That's a good drive.
And also, you have to take quite a gamble for someone for you to decide. If I was doing a big long drive, I'd be like, "This is my content. I've decided it. I'm not taking a chance."
But thank you for taking a chance on us. In the recent bonus episode about Dunkirk, George said something along the lines of, "The Prestige is my favourite Nolan film, but objectively I'd say that Dunkirk is Nolan's best film." Yes, I did say something like that. I like to keep a list of my top 10 favourite films and a list of my top 10 best films. For example, There Will Be Blood features in my list of best films, but not in my favourites. Alternatively, the lesser-known The Parole Officer with Steve Coogan, wow, I haven't thought about that film in a long time, features in my list of favourite films, but not in my list of best films. The lists aren't exclusively separate. For example, Good Will Hunting is in both. Questions for you both. What are some of your favourite films that you appreciate but don't classify as best films? I mean...
The Mummy from 1999.
Yeah, that's
it's
a good
like
one.
not a film you'd put in a conversation of greatest films of all time, but I love it, and it's part of my childhood.
Yeah.
A Knight's Tale with Heath Ledger.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
Hook. Spielberg's Hook.
Right.
Really love Spielberg's Hook.
Yeah.
Dustin Hoffman, Robin Williams.
That's probably quite a good few. I mean, I was going to say Aliens, but I feel like Aliens is good
No,
enough.
that's considered good.
Yeah, like artistic enough.
8 Mile. Have you seen 8 Mile?
No.
No. You have to think about it.
Well, I was actually thinking about my other stuff, but
sorry.
I don't know. I'm trying to think what's ones they go. Oh, I
good,
love.
but, like you're not.
Let me get my letterboxed up, which you can follow me.
Coach
at.
Carter. Love Coach
Right.
Carter. The Hobbit. I've said The Hobbit before. In fact, they're bad. I'd say they're bad.
The Hobbit. Yeah, no.
National Treasure.
Looper. I'd say for me.
That's not
I would say
favorite films that aren't great.
No, it's not.
Are not classed as the best films. Oh yeah, sure.
I say it's just like no, that's a good film.
Yeah,
but it's
yeah,
like
yeah, sure,
it's
sure.
not. No one's putting that up for an Oscar.
No, I agree. Interstellar we talked about. It has problems, but we love it anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, Hot Rod with
Right.
Andy Samberg, The Lonely Island.
Yeah.
and
Starsky
Danny
and
McBride.
Hutch.
Starsky and Hutch from 2003. Yes.
That's due a rewatch. Actually,
That really is. I hope it's still
Do you
funny.
know what? I think that's 2004. And if it is 2004, James, you and I should do a 20th anniversary rewatch.
Yeah. Oh, I'd love that.
2004. Yeah. Out
Next year.
41.
In the diary.
Yeah.
In the diary.
Do it.
Make
it happen.
Coke. Do it. Pop the trunk. Do it. Do it.
Benji, thanks so much for your email.
No, it's a yacht. It's a yacht. This next one is from Sion, who says, "Hello, James and George. I watched Past Lives in the cinema about 2 weeks ago, and I haven't stopped thinking about it since. I think it would be a good double bill with Before Sunset in terms of there being a history and connection between the two leads, and the question of what if, or with In the Mood for Love in terms of what the characters are to each other and where they end up. But I love how universal the story is. It didn't necessarily have to be on a romantic level, and it could have been someone that you were just really close friends with as a child, but you could still relate. The way in which people from your past know you is is always going to be different to the way in which people who you are currently in your life know you. There is something bittersweet about that, which I love. The fact that people in relationships are always evolving and changing, and we just have to accept that. That's a really true point about the sense of connection not necessarily being tied to an old romantic friend or relationship. It can be just about, it is about something that's lost from where you were in life versus where you are now.
I would say that when we put out a clip of our review...
Sorry, like nostalgia is like a whole concept.
We put out a clip of our review from Past Lives, and it shows people's love for that film because people have been resharing that 10-second clip of us talking about it and to express their own love for that film. And it's been really nice to see.
And I was glad to see that, like, 'cause we do, if you found us on TikTok, you'll know we do clips of the games at the end of the show, any like fun takes, and then we put our movie reviews out. And the movie reviews 9 times out of 10 do way less views than the games, but we're always happy to put them out because we get good feedback on them. And some of our, thank you, that's one to you. And some of our movie reviews that have done well over the time have been negative reviews on Star Wars and Marvel and Avatar projects. So I'm slightly heartened to see that a positive review on a smaller film has resonated in the social media algorithm for like the first time, which I think is nice. It got me thinking about female-directed films. There is just something so unique about them. I can always tell if a film is directed by a woman, if I haven't already looked it up. What are some of your favorite female-directed films or female filmmakers that you are most interested in? I love the works of Eliza Hittman from Never Really, Sometimes Always and Beach Rats, Greta Gerwig, Barbie and Lady Bird, Ava DuVernay, When They See Us, Selma, Celine Sciamma, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, Petit Maman. I also enjoyed watching, and you provided a big list here. I'll list some of them. You Were Never Really Here, Booksmart, Baby Teeth, Edge of 17, Dogfight, Watermelon Woman, Fish Tank, Little Miss Sunshine. Hopefully this email isn't too long. The podcast is always great, and I cannot wait for you to reach your 100th episode. Stay tuned to the end of the episode for news on that thing. From Sion, London.
Thanks, Sion. Yeah, great.
You mentioned some great ones there.
Yeah, really good ones. And again, sorry, just Sion mentioned Never Really, Sometimes Always, a film I've mentioned a few times. I talked about it last year when we did our great one scenes in movies.
Yes, yeah.
Worth checking out that film. Really
What
good.
has Andrea Arnold been up to? Because I feel like Fish Tank keeps coming up.
She did Fish Tank, then she did Wuthering Heights, and then she did
American Honey.
That
was it.
And then she directed the second season of Big Little Lies, which wasn't a great experience for her. And then I think she went and made a documentary about cows.
Cow 2021, I can see it here. Yeah.
And I don't know what she's up to next, but I've met Andrea Arnold. She's very nice. She offered me a cupcake.
Oh, where was that?
So I went to the University of Sussex, and she is from Sussex, I believe, and she is very good friends with the university and supports the film department. And she came in. We studied Wuthering Heights from an adaptation point of view. And she came in and talked to us about that. But then she also invited our seminar group to an early cut screening of American Honey. Now, if anyone's seen American Honey, it's a long film. It's like 2.5 hours. We saw like a 3.5 hour cut. But at the end, they hand out... I mean, there's bits of American Honey that didn't make the cut that I really liked.
Really?
That I go, I'm glad I saw that. And at the end, they handed around like screening questionnaires and stuff. And she offered us cupcakes with it. And I was like,
what do you think we have to do to be invited for services to podcasting?
Services to podcast? What do you mean?
To come and talk at Sussex as alumni.
Probably win a Nobel Prize, like break a massive story, perhaps. Not just like have a good TikTok.
You need to name me 7 films.
Okay. This next email is from Alex, who says, Dear James and George, hope you're both doing well. I'm writing this week to let you guys know that I recently gave the podcast some free promo.
Nice.
Good. Yeah, doing God's work. Yeah. I'm currently writing my personal statement to get to get into uni, and our teacher was giving us advice about what to write. She said we should mention any podcasts we listen to that relate to the course we want to apply for, and I instantly thought of Pulp Kitchen.
Yes.
I'm applying for an English degree and mentioned your podcast as being one of the ways I pursue my love of film outside of school. Now, all the big bosses of the unis I've applied to will know the name Pulp Kitchen. Yeah. So if you get a surge of new listeners in the next few months, you're most welcome. I absolutely love what you guys are doing. Congrats on almost reaching 100 episodes from a hopefully soon-to-be English student, Alex.
And news on the 100 episode is coming at the end of the episode.
Alex, I can just say, I love that email.
Love that. Best of luck.
Best of luck. But I applied for uni as someone who loved film, but applied for English because film is not a taught subject in many places.
Yeah.
And when I got into uni, you know what you can do, Alex? You can just speak to the admissions office and be like, can I do either a joint honours or can I just switch courses? Yeah. And they're like, literally, when I was there, they're like, yeah, no problem. Didn't need to see your grades, didn't need to see anything. Yeah. So like, you can do a bit more film at uni if you're like, that's what's great about uni. You have all these options to do it. Just I see your pathway.
Yeah. Get in and then,
Yeah.
like say
Move
you could
across-
ride a horse
lateral move.
and then learn to ride the horse on your left. I always think that the whole process of writing a personal statement was so humiliating.
Oh, yeah.
God, I remember reading other people's at my school, and some people were like going for Oxbridge, and they had the shittest first personal statements I'd ever read. It's like, when I was younger, I used to deconstruct bricks to see what the parts were made of.
Oh, God,
and that's what I do with my studies. I want to evolve and deconstruct
You know what they
things
sound
at its
like?
core.
They sound like car adverts. You know, it's like, we have to move forward
To
to
move
accelerate to the future.
Yeah. Sometimes
Change.
what's been lying in front of us the whole time is the most obvious answer.
The sky,
Hi.
but also
James Briefle.
yeah. Applying for the University of Swansea.
Yeah, and then similarly, like there's that, like trying to get into uni, and then like you leave uni and your first jobs where you have no experience, but you have to just like be enthusiastic, and some internship you did for like 3 days.
Yeah.
You flesh that bad boy out.
yeah.
What I did.
I led on the caffeine production sector, across
Pioneered it.
Yeah, pioneered it. Coordinated
Distribution,
it.
supply.
Yeah, execution, distribution, and consumption.
All the way through to delivery.
B2B, B2C.
Yeah.
Right.
This last one is from Lewis, who says, "Hello, James and George. Long-time listener and finally a wielder of enough courage to email in.
Aye.
I love your podcast, and it has spurred my best mate and me to go on to buy a membership at our local cinema, and now we attend at least once a week."
That's fantastic.
I love that. That's what it's all about.
So if you could look at it, we've saved cinema.
Yes.
Because we've got
Exactly
people to
that.
go back to the cinema then. So we can take all the credit.
That is a direct
Link.
financial call to action result.
It goes us.
Indulge us, please, Lewis.
Yeah.
We are saving.
It goes us, Barbenheimer, and then maybe, I don't know, Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Who are
That's
saving
it.
cinema.
We're the only people at the table.
Yeah.
This weekend, we had the delight of going to watch The Creator at the BFI IMAX. Oh, I would have been around that day. And wow, what a visual delight that movie was. From the locations to the design of the AI and Nomad ship, I thought everything just looked incredible. Whilst I didn't think it was the most gripping story, and at times a bit predictable, I do think it is a film that has to be seen on the big screen. My friend and I thought it had many parallels to the first Avatar movie and seemed very anti-American, I agree. And whilst I'm not against that, the Americans in this movie seemed unbelievably evil beyond belief, and I felt myself internally becoming the viral Britney Spears defense video, "Leave AI alone." Nevertheless, I've recommended the movie to my friends and will do to others going forward. I'd like to go back. Firstly, yeah, I completely agree with your thoughts on The Creator. Yeah, I definitely see it on a big screen. It's worth it, and yeah, the whole East versus West thing, the merging of like nations into two different philosophies is quite a bold but interesting choice.
Very 1984, Eurasia, Euro thingy, and
But it
East
actually
Asia.
simplifies a lot of geography crap to sort of focus in on the story, which I sort of appreciate. I'd like to go. Lewis goes on to say, "I'd like to go back
in that tone of voice."
Yeah, like James Acaster. I've never used. I've only used one side of the cheese grater,
and we're still looking at it.
Yeah. I'd like to go back.
You did it again.
I'd like to go back to what is surprisingly a debate that is happening with listeners of this podcast about which is better, Monsters Inc. or Monsters University.
That's what I forgot to mention. Someone on the plane, on the seat in front of me,
Watching.
watched Monsters University.
Whoa. Do you think that's because university is newer and therefore on the schedule and they don't have ink?
No, this person brought their own iPad to watch it.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Okay.
personal choice.
Yeah. That's an active decision.
An active decision, yeah.
Day before you looked on Disney Plus and you went, no, yes.
Charge it up. Sorry, continue. This. I love this debate, by the way.
We're
going to have to watch
come
it.
up the most.
We're going to have to do a double bill.
Yeah, we would have to. I'm going to get into the rest of your email, but come up the most, I'd say. We've had like, when people were sending in their what was it? Underrated films.
Well, do you know what it is?
No,
we used to have, the debate used to be whether or not food should be in the show. Then the debate became whether or not Hacksaw Ridge was a good film.
Yeah.
And now it's about
Monsters Inc. versus Monsters. You just say things that you don't think people are going to be like, what? And they write in. Anyway, whilst I am firmly in the camp that Monsters Inc. is better in every way, I do like to test these theories. I'm somewhat of a scientist myself. I'm a primary school teacher and I teach year 6, so I tested out which was better in class. Brackets, I won't reveal my school, as I definitely should have been teaching a proper lesson. After watching both Pixar movies, the class almost unanimously voted Monsters, Inc., the winner.
Yes.
You can't argue with science. If you would like me to test any other children's movies arguments with my class, please let me know. Hopefully, I can be your teacher correspondent. Emailing whilst marking books, Lewis. Interesting.
That is
specifically
interesting.
children, because it's for six.
No, year 6.
Year 6, 10, 11. 11, 12. No, 10, 11.
10, 11, yeah. So that's kind of in the middle camp, I'd say.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not surprised. I think I haven't seen University, but
Toy Story 1 and 2.
But that's not a
debate,
debate because they're both great.
Yeah.
The debate is that it looks like there's a discrepancy between these two. We're going to have to watch ourselves, James.
We would. We'll just report in.
Watch this space.
Give them like a good hour. Go over it.
Anyway.
We'll have a thing.
Yeah, we'll have a thing.
We'll have a thing.
Great. I love people who write in and they name their profession, and then we have like all these people in different camps.
Because I start painting the picture of them.
We've got forgive me, I forgot the emailer's name, who was like cutting open cows in Ireland.
Yeah.
And we've got teacher.
Also, Lewis, they love you for watching films in class.
You're a legend.
I don't think they do this anymore, but when they used to wheel out the TV on the trolley, I'm sure just the smart board plays it, but like when they'd wheel out, you were just like, yes. Yeah. Zip up that pencil case.
We, when I was in year 9, when we did RE, we were watching Gandhi.
Oh, yeah.
And our RE teacher there was then ill for many weeks. I think she was fine in the end. But whenever we had someone come in to cover the lesson who would be some sort of bemused geography teacher, had no idea about, come and sort of go, okay, where are we, class? We would all. Gandhi's a long film, right?
Yeah,
so we would always just say, oh, we're still watching Gandhi. Yeah, we got up to the salt marches. Yeah, and we did that for about 2 weeks. So I've seen the second half of Gandhi so many times.
My drama teacher when I was in year 9 or year 7, I can't remember. It was like when the summer exams had finished and like you didn't have a drama exam because like you just didn't. And so like while you were doing your exams or when you were finishing them, he was obsessed with Russell Crowe. Right. So he put on Gladiator, which we watched over 2 lessons, loving it. Great. And he was fine. He'd just occasionally pause it and be like, what he's doing here is just, and he wouldn't really say anything, but just exclaim about, put the sand in between his fingers. And then we watched A Good Year with Russell Crowe.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and there was another one.
Anna loves that one.
Yeah. I can't remember what else, but yeah, I always just appreciated it.
Russell Crowe's film choices recently have
the
Pope's Exodus. I mean, me and my friends laugh about it all the time because I think Russell Crowe got the call and it was like 6 months filming in Italy. Yeah, you betcha. And there's a food and catering budget. You bet.
Part of it, yeah.
I'll be there. We call that film The Pope's Pappardelle because that's what went through Russell Crowe's mind when he got the offer.
You must have recently come up with that.
Yeah, literally. The Pope's Pappardelle. We just saw it. It's like we know. Look, if you've seen Russell Crowe recently, you know. You know.
Right. Let's talk after this little break about plans for Pulp Kitchen 100.
So guys, here is the plan for episode 100 of Pulp Kitchen. James and I are going to host a big Pulp Kitchen film pub quiz.
On Wednesday, the 1st of November, we're going to be hosting a pub quiz. If you've ever enjoyed the type of film games we play on the show, the type of film games we put out on social media, this is going to be an entire evening of all of that. We've got some really good ideas for what we want to do with it, so make sure you get your tickets before they sell out.
All the information can be found in the link below, but basically bring your mates, have some drinks, test your film knowledge. It's going to be great fun. Doors should open about 6:30. Quiz will start about 7:30. Should last about 2 hours. And yeah, like we said, limited number of spaces, so get your tickets. Plus, whereas the pub quiz is to celebrate 100 episodes of the show, our actual 100th episode is going to feature something a little bit different. James.
Bevan writes into hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com and says, hey boys, just wanted to write in with a bit of an idea. This could be absolutely insane, but could also be a bit of a laugh. For the 100th episode, would it be possible to have a call-in episode? By this I mean, you ask a question of us sirens, and we can send responses to the Instagram in voice note. I don't know if it would even work, but it would be cool to have the listeners involved in the momentous occasion.
So guys, that's the idea. If you have a question you'd like to ask for our 100th episode, then send it in to our Instagram account @pulpkitchenpodcast.com.
But the rule is they have to be short. Aim for them to be no more than 30 seconds, because we want to include as many of you as possible, and we can't hear life stories going on and on. So 30 seconds, aim for that, and you can be on the show.
As much as we love you guys, we want to keep it pithy.
Yes.
So that's just some of the stuff we're going to be doing for our 100th episode, in addition to the celebration of 100 episodes, which is the pub quiz. It's all happening, people. It's crazy.
And more announcements soon.
Yes, more announcements.
Life post 100,
yes.
Where we're going, what we're doing.
That's 4 weeks' time, people.
It's exciting.
Countdown.
It's a month away. Event is linked down below.
We're growing, and we couldn't have done it without you guys.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
We'll talk more about it at episode 100. But anyway, how should we end this episode, James?
Let's end with a game. Okay, George, very exciting to hear about PULP KITCHEN 100.
Yes.
But, of course, it's episode 96. Normal service resumes. We can't get distracted.
Absolutely not.
Every episode of PULP KITCHEN ends
With a game.
And 100 episodes of PULP KITCHEN ends in a lot of games at our quiz. Link down below. We're going to do a miscellaneous game. This is a name 7 in 30 game. George, are you ready? You're a little bit tired, but I have faith in you as always. I'm sure you're going to be great.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, George. In 30... I'm on the calculator. Hold on.
Oh, so umbrellas are unnecessary, but you can't even get your right app open. God.
Clark. Right, George. In 30 seconds. Ready? Name 7 films with a unit of time in the title, like second, week, month, year. You have 30 seconds. Your time starts now.
2 weeks notice, 28 days later, 28 weeks later,
20 seconds.
12 Years a Slave, week, day, month,
10 seconds.
month, year,
5 seconds.
a unit of time, minute, New York Minute.
Yeah. Time.
I only know New York Minute from you, the
Yeah,
Austin,
because
the Austin Jones movie.
We just talked about One a Good Year. Training Day. Gone in 60 Seconds.
Oh, right, yeah.
Rush Hour.
Yeah. Oh.
Weekend at Bernie's, I would have
Oh,
had.
weekend is that's not
Yeah.
a unit of time, is it?
Well, I think
It's not a
it's
unit
day
of time.
thing.
You don't measure something in a weekend. it's a type of
Of course
day.
you do.
A weekend.
It was a weekend long.
I guess you could say it like a fortnight.
Independence Day.
Oh, right.
First
Yes.
Bueller's Day Off.
It's such a niche one, and I'm so jet lagged.
40-year-old virgin. All right, George, are you ready for the next game?
I guess.
This is not a guess 7 in 30. This is a little like I'm going to say a thing and you got to tell me what it is. Ready? So, George, MacGuffins.
Yes.
MacGuffins.
Yes.
They're everywhere in films.
Yeah.
Some of the great stories of all time have MacGuffins at the core. You have to tell me what film it is from the MacGuffin.
Brilliant.
So I'm going to read you a list of MacGuffins, and
Brilliant.
you're going to tell me to what film the MacGuffin. And George, MacGuffins, just in case someone doesn't know what a MacGuffin is.
It's
Don't
like-
list any because I've probably
No, but
got
it's
them
like
on my list.
it's a very arbitrary plot device. It's
Drives
manifested as an
attention.
object that drives the plot on. Oh, we need to get the X
Thing
object
Put it in the thing so
yes.
thing can happen.
Okay,
George, are you ready?
I'm ready.
You have to tell me what the film is based on its MacGuffin. Ready? The One Ring.
Lord of the Rings.
The Rabbit's Foot.
Mission Impossible 3.
Yes. The Rug.
The Big Lebowski.
Yes. Rosebud.
Citizen Kane.
Yes. The Holy Grail.
Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Yes. I've also accepted Indiana
Jones and the
3.
Last Crusade.
The Ark of the Covenant.
In Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yes. Private Ryan.
Saving Private Ryan.
The Ether.
Thor: The Dark World.
Yes. Microwave Emitter.
Microwave emitter. Is it like Back to the Future?
No.
Back.
Ooh, Batman Begins. This is why you got me. The Declaration of Independence.
National Treasure.
Yes. The Heart of the Ocean.
Atlantis. The
Titanic.
Oh,
The Infinity Stones.
Infinity War.
The Briefcase.
Pulp Fiction.
Yes. Last one. Doug.
Doug. That is The Hangover.
Yes. I'm counting that as a MacGuffin.
Oh God.
You did well. You did very, very
I
well.
did. That's good.
Good MacGuffins.
Quick fire. Good MacGuffins.
Doing that, I realised a MacGuffin can be a person.
Yes.
Private Ryan. Doug.
yeah.
It
the
works.
thing.
Get the person to the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Black Hawk.
Yeah.
Get the Black Hawks. Save the Black Hawks. They've been downed.
Ellie from The Last of Us.
Yes.
Get them to a place. And it's a bit on the line.
It's more like, okay.
So, George, my last game, I think is probably the greatest, most ingenious, intuitive, unique game I've ever made. I'm sure it will go on to spawn many sequels and iterations. This game is called Shrek 1, Shrek 2, or Shrek 3. I'm going to read you characters from the first 3 Shrek films, and you have to tell me quickfire whether or not they made their debut in Shrek 1, Shrek 2, or Shrek 3. George, for the record, when was the last time you saw Shrek? Or any Shreks?
You know what's really funny?
No.
Is my girlfriend watched it next to me on the plane yesterday.
Oh, no!
Yeah.
So you'll know one.
When I was Shrek 1, and when I was watching it, obviously I couldn't hear it, but I've seen that film so many times, I could fill in all the dialogue.
So
and
Shrek
everything.
1, you're good.
Yeah, Shrek 2, I've not seen for a while. I've probably only seen it twice.
Okay.
And Shrek 3, I only watched that once.
and I've not seen Shrek 4,
I've
I think you neither have as well. That's why
I
you've
didn't
got
put it, so I'm not, I can't speak on
Shrek the Third.
the
Yeah, that's the
fourth.
one with the
No, the third is the third.
Yeah, Shrek the Third. Yeah.
Happily Ever After is the fourth.
Yeah, Shrek the Third is the third.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know why we're arguing over the semantic points of Shrek. But
Okay, so George, welcome to the first ever round of is it Shrek 1, Shrek 2, or Shrek 3?
Okay.
George, can you tell me which of these characters appeared in Shrek 1, Shrek 2, or Shrek 3? The Gingerbread Man,
Shrek 1,
Puss in Boots,
Shrek 2,
yes. Princess Fiona,
Shrek 1,
Arthur Pendragon,
Shrek 3,
yes. Cinderella,
Shrek 3,
yes. Prince Charming,
Shrek 2,
yes. Three Blind Mice,
Shrek 1,
Donkey,
Shrek 1.
Snow White.
Technically Shrek 1 in the dating. I saw it
Yes,
last night. I did it in the dating profiles.
Fairy Godmother,
Shrek 2,
yes. Magic Mirror,
Shrek 1,
yes. Queen Lillian,
Shrek 3.
Shrek 2.
Is that it?
Guys, that was Shrek 1, Shrek 2, or Shrek 3.
You did not expect me to do as well as that, did you? At all.
You did. The fact that I had Shrek 3 for Snow White and you came in and told me about a bit I remembered from Shrek 1.
Because I saw it last night. That's the thing.
Guys, thank you for playing Shrek 1. Thank you for playing Is it Shrek 1, Shrek 2, or Shrek 3? I hope to make a return to the game at some point.
I came in like a Shrek ball. Brilliant. Well, thank you, James, for tickling my fancy
I'm
there.
flushed.
Yeah. You weren't expecting it.
No.
It's like you've cast a spell and I've repelled it.
I was hoping you were going to say, James, I've not seen Shrek either 1, 2, or 3 in 15 years, and I'd be like, great.
The look on your face when I was like, oh, yesterday I saw it.
Amazing.
The whole thing.
Well, there you go, guys. Those were the games today. I hope you enjoyed them. I hope you are checking through the Shrek archives to check the answers. Thank you, as always, for listening to this episode of PULP Kitchen. We really appreciate you spending your time with us. Don't forget, we post new episodes of this show every single Wednesday.
We also have a bonus episode going out this week as well, where James reviews
Dumb Money. And I also caught up on Stop Making Sense, which George reviewed the other week. I went to go see it. I also have thoughts. Go and check that out.
Have a great week, guys, as ever. And just as I say every week, without sounding like a broken record, please continue to like, follow, subscribe, support us, and all across Instagram and TikTok and everything. We really appreciate it. Send us in your emails, write in your reviews, give us a 5-star rating wherever you can. We really appreciate it. We
PULP Kitchen 100 tickets now live.
Get your tickets.
Go
Come
get
to the
it.
pub quiz.
Send us your voice notes
You
for the
get to see us
episode.
in 3-dimensional real time.
Yeah. Shout out to Matt at the pub last weekend. He saw me. That was cool.
And
he's seen me live.
I'm going to say this right now, guys. We're both really tall.
Oh, yeah.
So know
that
how
would be-
tall we are. You'll have to come find out.
Yes.
Have a great week. Bye.